All right, welcome in. It is a live edition of Three Dog Thursday for weekend number 2 of the college football season. I never can keep this straight. This is why I got to have Gary Seegers with me. I'm merely TJ Rives. It is actually the third weekend because week 0 counts, but they still call it week 2 nonetheless. Hello.
It's a mayhem, right?
I know. I hope you're doing well. All we know is we got tons of football that matters and tons of underdogs to talk about. Thank you for finding us, whether you're watching the video show on Gary's platforms, on winningcureseverything.com, the Winning Cures YouTube page, whether you're only hearing us. Come see what we look like if you're only hearing us on Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, on the Three Dog Thursday podcast. We do this on Thursdays. Why? Because we love underdog conversation in college football. Gary, great to be back with you. I wish we had better news on our week 1 underdogs. You were 1-4 with Florida Atlantic. I was 1-4. Thank God Southern Cal in the final game of the weekend for our show's purposes got me a win. Other than that, though, we struggled a little bit. We got a vow to be better this week on Three Dog Thursday. How you feeling?
We do, but look, week 1 is always a crapshoot because you don't know what these teams are going to look like with all the transfers, et cetera. Who would have imagined that Florida State would look as bad as they have? I mean, that was a debacle.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to be a top 10 team, right?
Yes.
And the season is over for them essentially after 9 days, after the loss in Ireland and then the Boston College loss.
Well, and
this past Monday.
Both of those conference losses, right? So they are going to be bottom of the ACC until at least week 5.
Wow, sure.
So, I mean, it's a long time before anybody else will play 2 conference games.
We're still sitting here a few days later. What was that from Clemson in the second half? What was that from Florida? Both you and I had them as underdogs, and neither one of them made adjustments, did anything better, any different in the second half. And Clemson gets wiped out by Georgia. Not unexpected. Georgia's a Godzilla. Right. But, I mean, Florida at home lets Miami go up and down the field. Neither one of us got anything out of the second half of our underdog teams last week.
So Clemson, like you said, it's Georgia. I felt pretty good about that in the first half until I realized that Kirby Smart quickly found out that Clemson was never going to score on his defense. There was no prayer. Cade Klubnik, I thought year 2 under Garrett Riley that Klubnik would take at least a half of a step. And that does not appear to be the case. Now, again, this is Georgia's defense that he was going up against. But I didn't see a lot to be hopeful about for Clemson. I think they're going to be fine this weekend. I mean, they're playing App State. I would take them in that role because Dabo tends to take out that pin-up aggression on lower teams whenever he does get embarrassed. But who's to say? Who's to say? As far as Florida, boy, that was bad for Billy, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, that's
right now. I'm pretty much saying table for 3 on Billy Napier, Dabo Swinney, and Mike Norvell can join the table of 3 right now to try to figure out what the heck has happened here at the beginning of our season.
Hey, but that to be fair, this is what we have wanted to see out of a Mario Cristobal Miami team, right? I mean, we expected this when Mario took the job. He has got a loaded roster, and we talked about that. But man. I didn't expect it to go down quite like that.
They dominated them. Cam Ward at quarterback. The only thing I will caution, and I'm in the Sunshine State, you know this. I often joke I'm not in the state of confusion, as I always say on these shows. I'm in the state of Florida. All the Miami fans crowing. I saw this movie in 2020 with Rhett Lashley coming in as the offensive coordinator, De'Aaron King as the Houston transfer at quarterback. They looked fantastic at the beginning of the year. They wiped out Louisville at the beginning of the year. They looked fantastic, and they still went, woo, as the year went on. Just be careful here on reading too much in. He got a big win over Texas A&M early in the year last year, and still win.
Look, last year a lot of quarterback stuff. I mean,
I understand.
They were down to their third stringer last year.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, but let's see. I mean,
Yeah.
the Canes fans are a year removed from saying that Tyler Van Dyne was gonna win everything, Heisman Trophy.
Oh yeah,
I don't blame him. Johnny Unitas Award, #1 pick in the NFL draft. If you listen to Miami Hurricane fan, anyway, you know what? All of that's in the past. Here's what we do: we give you underdogs. 3 of them. Sometimes we might overlap, but I can tell you, you're going to get 6 of them on the show because I already know what Gary has and what I have. You're going to get 6 different underdogs on this video show / podcast. And why don't we roll up the sleeves and give you some dogs and why? You're going to begin with a game, and it's near and dear because I am a Memphis Tiger, born and raised in Memphis. You are in Memphis in the Mid-South, and you're going right at the Memphis Tigers here right off the bat on Three Dog Thursday. What's up?
I certainly am. I'm going to take Troy plus the 19. So my number on this, and I've still got a lot of preseason priors baked into this, but I've got this closer to Memphis by 6 as opposed to 19 and a half. The number has continued to go up. Memphis got a rotational running back that is going to be out and potentially out for the year, I believe. On top of that, Troy is not bad. Like that, they played a pretty good Nevada team that we didn't expect to be good. But Nevada now has 2 data points, a win at Troy, and, of course, the very close loss to SMU, who turns out is just fine, right? SMU did what they were supposed to against Houston Christian last week, makes Nevada look that much better. Troy lost a game by 2 points. They were almost a 10-point favorite in that game, but I don't think they're this bad. Toss on the fact that Memphis has to go to Florida State next week.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden that game looks incredibly attainable. How focused is Memphis going to be on Troy, knowing that they're going down to Tallahassee next week to potentially get a very, very big win over their former head coach?
Yep, and your captain look ahead on a lot of these, and you hit on one last week, I believe, in that Florida Atlantic game too, with whether or not Michigan State's looking ahead.
That's right.
All right, we'll see for the Tigers. You say though Troy Trojans, and you say give me the 19 points for Three Dog Thursday purposes here for Underdog, number 1 in college football. All right, no insult to my alma mater, the River City, but there might be a little more interest in our next Underdog. This is Texas and Michigan coming up on Saturday at the Big House. The Fox Big Noon kickoff game, the Big Noon kickoff pregame show will be there. Huge out-of-conference matchup for both of these teams. Specifically, if Texas can go get the win at Michigan, that's going to count for college football playoff committee seedings, etc. Am I crazy to look the way of the Wolverines as the home dog? I know they had problems with Fresno State last Saturday night. First games are always crazy. I mean, Oregon had problems with Idaho in their first game, for goodness sake. So first games can be a little iffy. Texas obviously destroyed Colorado State, who's not very good at home. Something says to me Wolverines hang tough, if not win this game. Gary Seegers, did you know that Michigan, the last 5 years under that Harbaugh guy who's left to go to the NFL, they have never, not once, been as much as a touchdown underdog at home. This is a rare situation where you get them getting, what are we getting, 7.5 from our friends at BetUS? I just, it's too many points to pass up. I think their defense is good enough. I think the loud crowd at the Big House will bother Texas some. I would not be surprised if Michigan wins this game with Texas, especially coming off of how bad they looked last week and they bounce back. First game to the second game, improvement, and they're at home. All right, talk to me a little bit here. How nutty am I to go Wolverines on Three Dog Thursday?
I don't think you're nutty at all. My number on this with all the preseason stuff baked in is Texas minus 2.33. Now, I will tell you, I did take Texas minus 2.5 early on, about a couple of months ago. But at the same time, I don't feel good about that Michigan offense. I also don't know anything more about Texas than I did. It seemed like they got their red zone issues from last year cleaned up. But again, that was against Colorado State.
Right.
What does that mean going in against maybe the best secondary in college football? Maybe the best front line. Michigan could certainly, I mean, there is a very, very low total here for a reason.
Right.
Texas is on their third string running back. Like, I don't see any reason why this thing should be above 7.
But it's interesting. You said it was what, 2.5, and I heard you. And by the way, another plug here. Gary does a great job on the BetUS handicapping show with Parker Fleming and Kyle Hunter. So I saw you guys earlier in the week on your preview shows talking about this game, and you said that, and I went, why is it moved 4 or 5 points here? Is it just the uncertain Michigan quarterback situation?
That's got a lot to do with it.
So maybe that's it too. But again, you're not trying to fully dissuade me here on Texas and Michigan.
There's a reason why I am staying off of this game. because it could certainly go the way of Texas based on nothing more than the fact that Michigan had trouble scoring against Fresno State. Texas has way better athletes. I mean,
Of
way,
course.
way better. But at the same time, I mean, Texas, a bunch of returning production as far as adjusted returning production. They brought in a lot of starters. It looks like everything's gelling thus far, but there's no telling. I mean, maybe second half, Michigan kind of got that running game going. Boy, they did not look good in that first half against Fresno.
No.
But
this was a one-score game with Fresno State driving until the pick six for Michigan turned the whole game around and gave them breathing room in the second half, late, midway, late third quarter, whatever that was.
That is also something to pay attention to. Is I brought this up with the South Carolina game because that South Carolina-Kentucky spread has gotten bananas. It's like 10.5 now. How focused on Fresno was Michigan, knowing that Texas is coming up?
There's the point. All right. So there's underdog number 2. That is Wolverines. Go Blue, the defending national champs. NCAA hammer still to come for them for all the shenanigans. Connor Stallion still saying he didn't do it, by the way. If you need another update for weekend number 2.
Hey, that's my story, and I'm
that's exactly right. There are a lot of people that have been executed still saying I was not guilty. Okay, on that note, we move along. Again, thank you for finding us on 3 Dog Thursday, the video show. You may be watching us live. You may be watching us via backing it all up on YouTube later on the link. Podcast, wherever you get podcasts, you get 3 Dog Thursday as well. Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. He's Gary Seegers. I'm TJ Rives. You owe me another underdog, young man. Where are you headed? Are you headed again at another Big Ten team? Are we talking another Big Ten team here and the underdog against them?
We certainly are. And the number finally got up there, and I am going to roll Bowling Green plus 35.5. I can get half now.
Wow.
Yes. It is a monster number. Penn State looked outstanding in the second half against West Virginia last week, right? First half, not so great, but also Drew Aller doing big things now. Looks good. That Andy Kotelnicki offense appears to be gelling the way that it was supposed to, the way that they hoped when they hired him from Kansas. But at the same time, Bowling Green has given all kinds of teams problems. They gave Memphis. They gave Michigan fits last year in the Big House. I think they picked off J.J. McCarthy 3 times last year. Now they've lost some key pieces on defense. Still, a lot of returning production on that defense. They got Connor Bazelak back at quarterback. They got Fannin at tight end. They got dudes. And you can't normally say that about MAC teams. I like this Bowling Green team. This is the team that went down and beat up on Georgia Tech last year in Atlanta. And that's not saying a ton, except that Georgia Tech gave Georgia all kinds of problems last year. So the fact that they went down and beat them by double digits at their own house, Bowling Green tends to get up for these kind of games. I'm not saying that they're going to win the game, but 35.5, sleepy Saturday morning spot.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State comes off of a big road win. Both of these teams have bye weeks next week. Penn State doesn't really have another real challenge until like week 6 or week 7. How excited are they going to be to blow out Bowling Green?
We always talk about the spot, and my man Gary says I'm feeling the spot here for the reasons you just gave, including bye weeks next week for both teams. And the spot also gives you 35.5 points. That is a ton. When you start the game up 35-0, essentially, for 3 Dog Thursday reasons. We like that. So interesting. 3 early games in a row as well.
Yes.
That one is the home opener in Happy Valley off that win. And obviously Penn State handled, Gary, just one more quick comment. They handled the weather delay much better than West Virginia, where there was a literal 2-hour weather delay coming out of halftime. And they came out and played great. And West Virginia, even at home, looked very flat. So
yes,
kudos to James Franklin and his staff for handling. Did you have one final thought on that, or just give Penn State credit? Because I was on the other side of that. I thought West Virginia would cover. I said it on this show on 3 Dog Thursday. It wasn't close. Wasn't close in the second half after the delay.
Well, so Garrett Green is not built to be able to provide any kind of offense against a defense like Penn State. That front 7 for Penn State is tough. They are incredibly difficult. But it's whether or not they're focused, right? Like, I don't know how focused they're going to be against Bowling Green, but against West Virginia, especially with the line that was that short, I mean, you're on the road, hostile territory. They're going to be fired up, especially first game of the year. Now you're in the second game of the season. Everybody's giving you your kudos already. They moved up in the rankings. I feel like Bowling Green is in a good spot here. Again, not going to win the game, so let's not get crazy, but they can certainly stay within that 35.5.
Good enough. Again, it is Three Dog Thursday. You see on the screen, if you're with us on video, we're brought to you by Ticket Smarter. If you are looking to get into that Penn State Bowling Green game, again, slightly more interest in Texas and Michigan. If you're trying to go to the biggest games, not just this weekend, but all season long, do it with our friends at Ticket Smarter, the Ticket Smarter mobile app. You see on the screen, if you're with us, if you're only hearing us, I'll make mention of it. If you're trying to get in, and you're spending $100 or more, use the promo code WCE for Winning Cures Everything. Gary's platforms, Winning Cures Everything. WCE10 gets you $10 off of an order of $100 or more. But I mean, right now, if you're trying to get into the big house for Michigan and Texas, you're not getting one of the better seats in the lower level for under $100. Not happening. So use the promo code WCE20 if you're spending $300 or more. $300 or more, use the promo code WCE20. Again, they have the most competitive prices on the secondary market. Week after week, their algorithms do a fantastic job of making sure you get the best value. Your purchase is safe and secure. It takes 5 minutes to sign up. Use these promo codes as much as you want. WCE20. Again, Colorado at Nebraska is going to be a wild game and a tough ticket. On and on down the list of these different important games throughout the college football season. Use Ticket Smarter, the Ticket Smarter mobile app, promo code WCE20, $20 off an order of $300 or more. Get in the game. Think smarter with Ticket Smarter. We're going to stay with the early games. You and I are continuing to hone in on early underdogs. I'm going to go to an ACC Big 12 matchup at Cincinnati. Two teams that struggled a year ago, two programs, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. They both knocked off a team that they were supposed to beat last week. Cincinnati had some problems for a little while with Towson, did not put the game away until the fourth quarter, only 38-20. Pitt had a much easier time wiping out Kent State, 55-24. So Pat Narduzzi has had a program that was on the rise for a couple of years and then had a bad year last year. I think this is a bounce back spot for them. I think they run the ball with Desmond Reed. I think they give Cincinnati fits, if not win the game. I'll take the 2 short points for the Pitt Panthers at Cincinnati. Obviously I believe they're likely going to win this game if it's only a 2-point line. Oh, yeah. I'll take them as the short underdog. Gary, a thought on Pitt and Cincinnati, quick.
I think that you can get them at plus 110 on the money line. That's the direction that I'm going on that. Cade Bell is the new offensive coordinator for Pitt. I agree with you, by the way. I gave out this pick on the BetUS college football show. And I believe in this Pitt offense. Eli Holstein is the transfer quarterback that came in from Alabama. He was slinging that thing all over the field on Saturday. They've got weapons, it looks like. And Cade Bell came over from Western Carolina. It looks like the Underdog has let the offensive coordinator do what he wants to. And I think that's a very, very good sign. Defense, they're missing a few pieces here and there. But do you trust Cincinnati as a home favorite?
Obviously, I don't. Yeah.
I mean, I like Scott Satterfield, but that does not feel like a good fit to me. And I don't like. I believe it's Sorsby is their quarterback there.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of what he did.
He wasn't great last week. He wasn't great. He was decent.
I understand because I mean my number on this is actually Cincy minus 1.5. I don't buy it though. I'm all over Pitt with you on this. I think that they're the better team. I don't think that the power ratings have fully adjusted. Like I said, I've got a lot of priors built into mine, but that Pitt offense, we didn't know what to expect from it. I think that we are going to see some good things out of that offense.
The only danger, as you are Captain Look Ahead, is Pitt has West Virginia next week in the backyard brawl. Are they looking ahead? I don't think so. On the road, I think they're getting ready for West Virginia. I join in hand off the cliff together with the Pitt Panthers against Cincinnati plus the 2. We'll wait and see what happens with that one coming up early, again, noon Eastern time in Cincinnati. All right, we've each gone 2 underdogs. Give me a third one that you like for Three Dog Thursday on this week 2 of college football. Where is it and why?
We have already missed the best of the number on this, but that's okay. I still buy into it. Eastern Michigan, best number you can get right now, plus 25.5 at Washington. Washington, I believe, has Washington State next week. On top of that, it's Chris Creighton as a road dog, and he is fantastic in this spot. I don't have the stats in front of me, but he is really, really good at covering as a double-digit road dog. Eastern Michigan has a team that will fight you in the parking lot before the game starts. Like, it is a pack of rabid dogs, and I love the way that they play. There is no advanced stat in the world that will tell you that Eastern Michigan is a good football team, but they find ways to stay in these kind of games, and they
one of our colleagues, Brian Edwards, who we love from Vegas Insider and his own stuff on majorwager.com, he has said year after year after year, Eastern Michigan as an underdog cover machine, and you're going right there on show number 2 here.
So their offense looks considerably better than they did last year. Right? So Eastern Michigan, there was a lot of steam on UMass last week at home against Eastern Michigan before the game. A lot of very respected handicappers were all over UMass in that game, and Eastern Michigan came out and handled business. I believe it was 28-14 was the final. They looked good on offense. They brought in what's the kid's name? Cole Snyder, I believe, is the kid that came over from Buffalo, the quarterback there. Everything looks better. They weren't making the ridiculous mistakes that they did last year. And even as bad as they were, advanced stats-wise last year, Eastern Michigan still made it to a bowl game last year. That is insanely difficult to do. I believe he's made a bowl in 6 of the last 8 years in Ypsilanti. That program has zero resources. I mean, it's basically a YMCA team out there, and they continue to battle in these games. 25.5 feels like too much. Anything over 24, I feel pretty good about. But yeah, I will take the 25.5 here. And in Eastern Michigan, I think we'll be able to keep this thing kind of close against Jed Fish's Washington Huskies.
I'm just looking for the official number here. Just as an away dog over the last, an away dog over the last 2 years, 8-4 ATS as an away underdog for Eastern Michigan. And it is a lot of points. That's a compelling number when you're covering it like 66% or whatever that is. Help me with my math.
It's a lot. Hold on. Let's go all the way back to, I believe he got there in 2016.
Right.
So we'll see exactly. As a way underdog, Eastern Michigan has been since 2016.
We do this live on the show, kids. Live research.
28-10, 73.7%.
Hello.
Ever since he got there.
As an away underdog, as they are in this case.
You got it.
In this situation at Washington. Got to go all the way out to Washington, but Eastern Michigan makes the show in weekend number 2. I owe you one more underdog on 3 Dog Thursday as part of Winning Cures Everything, the platform, the YouTube channel, winningcureseverything.com. Gary's content is phenomenal on this platform, and I love his friendship and his partnership here with Just Talk Underdogs. We just talk underdogs Thursday with 3 Dog Thursday. One more to go. Can I go all the way out west? We've been talking about all these early games. Can we go late night? Can we go San Diego State and Oregon State at the Snapdragon Stadium on the campus of SDSU? All right, here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at San Diego State off a tough year a year ago. They bring in Sean Lewis as the new head coach. They're impressive for whatever it's worth with something called Texas A&M Commerce last week. All right, that's kind of like the tune-up game. They ran the football with Marquez Cooper for what it's worth. I think they're going to be able to run the football at home on Oregon State. Oregon State, again, is in the Netherland, Neverland region of the Pac-12 disintegrated. They're trying to figure out what they do, what conference they end up in. They're kind of auditioning for the Mountain West. All right, so this is a home game for San Diego State against Oregon State. Saturday night, late, primetime Pacific time. I'm getting 6 points at home. Did you know, Gary Seegers, there were 4 occasions last year where San Diego State got 6 or more, or actually they were a home dog. 3 of them, they got 6 or more. They were 2-2 a year ago. One of them was an outright win with Fresno State. One of them was a narrow loss in Mountain West play as well. UCLA beat them. They were like a 10-point dog to UCLA, and UCLA beat them. The other one was an overtime loss where they lost, I believe, to Utah State as a home dog. But they were 2-2 last year as a home dog. 2 different times when they were getting like 6 or more, they covered. The 2 times they did cover, they're getting 6 here. I like them at home. Any further comment about the Beavers coming in, new coaching staff for them, first road game for them? I like the home dog here, Gary.
Look, any time that you are going to bet on Sean Lewis, I'm going to be right with you. Like, I understand where you're coming from with this. Marquez Cooper, 223 yards rushing last week. And the freshman quarterback that came in and won the job, Danny O'Neal is the guy. 22 out of 33. He had 214 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looked pretty good. Now, again, different competition. My number on this is heavily skewed Oregon State. It's Oregon State by 8.5 on this. However, I like the fact that it's late night at the campus of San Diego State. Sean Lewis, like I said, my priors got a lot of stuff built in from the Brady Hoke era. Sean Lewis has changed that thing around very, very quickly. Over 400 yards of offense already, almost 500. Yeah, I think that they will be able to hang around in this game. There's some betting love for San Diego State thus far this week.
And bear in mind here too, Marquez Cooper played with Sean Lewis under him at Kent State, came as a transfer here, knows the offense, knows the system, came all the way out west. You think that was a hard sell? Hey, you want to come with me from Kent, Ohio out to San Diego? Sure. Check, coach. I'll come do that. I'll come run the football with you. Again, this one late night on Saturday night. Give me the Aztecs. SDSU is my final underdog, getting 6 points with Oregon State. Remaining moment or two on 3-Dog Thursday. We did not touch Colorado as what are they now, like an 8.7 or 8-point underdog against Nebraska in that matchup? Yeah, something like that. Is Nebraska worthy of being that much of a favorite against Colorado? We stayed away for 3-Dog Thursday, but what do you think of that line real quick?
Let's see. Yeah, it's still sitting at 7.5, best available number. And so there's a lot of sharps that do like Nebraska this week. Colorado's defense is atrocious. However,
right,
I am still trying to figure out whether or not Nebraska, and I like Tony White, the defensive coordinator for the Cornhuskers, but I don't know of many teams that are going to be able to slow down Shedeur Sanders and that quadfecta. I think that's what you call it. Just a 4-headed beast at wide receiver. Travis Hunter is ridiculous.
Yep.
You got Shepard, the kid that came in from Vanderbilt. You got Horn Jr. that's still there from last year, and who are we missing? Oh, Wester, the kid from Florida Atlantic. I mean, they are loaded at the skill positions. Offensive line looked pretty good last week against North Dakota State. We'll see. I mean, you still got a freshman quarterback in Nebraska. He does look really, really good, Dylan Raiola, but it's a weird spot. This is one that has been circled for a while for Matt Rhule and company,
right?
Because they got their noses rubbed in it last year. The fans stormed the field. It was just a whole thing. Colorado really celebrated on the grave of Nebraska last year. This year, if Nebraska doesn't turn the ball over, yeah, I think their defense can probably get more stops than Colorado's can. But I mean, you've got to stop Colorado. So I haven't quite figured out how they're going to do that.
These were obviously big-time rivals in the Big 8. They went away as rivals. They're now Nebraska's in the Big 10, so it's definitely different. There's no doubt it's definitely different, but it's Colorado, Nebraska. That's a primetime game. I believe NBC has the TV, so compelling stuff. We got a Tennessee, NC State game, neutral field, quasi in Charlotte. It's close to Raleigh for NC State.
Hey, you want to talk about a number that's steamed?
Yes.
Good gracious. Tennessee right now is a 10-point favorite.
Wow. So that's up from what? 8?
So it was 4.5 about a month ago, and now it's all the way out to 10.
All right. So we'll see what happens with that one. We've got a Mississippi State, Arizona State game. We stayed away from that on 3-Dog Thursday. That's compelling. The Bulldogs against Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham, the coach, with a great quote this week after they won their opening game with Wyoming. He said, "You would have thought we won the Super Bowl with how we're practicing." He goes, "We're practicing like a 1-11 team." So,
oh yeah,
buyer beware on ASU for this week. All right, by means of recap, here we go. Gary is on the Troy Trojans plus the 19 in the matchup with Memphis. Bowling Green and a ton of points with Penn State for 3-Dog Thursday purposes. 35.5 points. And also Eastern Michigan against Washington, getting 25.5 there. I'll take the Michigan Wolverines in the huge early showdown with Texas. They might win the game outright. I'll take Pitt to win the game outright as a 2-point underdog at Cincinnati, and give me San Diego State. They very likely can win against Oregon State at home. I'll grab the 6 points in that one. My friend, we have done this again live. We encourage everybody to get Gary's great content, all of his previews, all of his analytics, winningcureseverything.com, the Winning Cures YouTube page. Did we leave anything out on 3-Dog Thursday, or are we good?
I think we're okay. Cheers to LFG for jumping in the chat here. He said Texas covers at Ann Arbor, so he's against you on that one. But yeah, hopefully as we do this more, if we continue to do this live, we'll have more people jump in the chat and whatnot. That's always a lot of fun.
We love the interaction as well. 3dogthursday.com is a website too where you can find out more. 3-Dog Thursday is a podcast where you can hear us, not just seeing us, but if you're only hearing us, come see what we look like at winningcureseverything.com and the Winning Cures YouTube page. Gary Seegers, thank you. Good luck with your underdogs, my friend. I appreciate you as always.
Oh, yes. I appreciate you as well.
I am merely TJ Rives. Thank you for watching and hearing us on 3-Dog Thursday. Woof, woof.